As usual, when we factor, the first thing we want to do, if at all possible, is factor out any kind of GCF. So remember, factoring out the GCF should always be your first step. And the other thing you have to remember is that the GCF is going to be a factor in its own right. So we'll actually set whatever's on the outside equal to 0, just like we will with the factors that are in parentheses. If there is no variable, though, then you can just ignore it. I'll show you why shortly. Now, for example 1, that is a problem with the GCF, but it's not going to become obvious until we can use the zero product rule. And that's not going to do us any good until we do some simplifying. Let's clear out one side. It's easiest if you just subtract 40x, so I'll just subtract 40x. We get 4x cubed minus 12x squared minus 40x equals 0. I can factor 4x out of all of these terms. I get x squared minus 3x minus 10 equals 0. You can factor that yourself with very little trouble. That factors into x minus 5 times x plus 2 equals 0. Now, as I mentioned, the outside is a factor in its own right. So we actually have 3 different factors. And we're going to set all 3 of those equal to 0. So 4x equals 0, x minus 5 equals 0, and x plus 2 equals 0. And so for the leftmost problem, I'll just divide by 4. I get x equals 0. That's one of my answers. Then for x minus 5 equals 0, that one should also be pretty easy. You just add 5 here. X comes out to equal exactly 5. And then for the last one, subtract 2, and x equals negative 2. So we actually have 3 possible answers here, and we have found all 3. Onward to example 2. For example 2, again, we're going to clear out one entire side. I'll clear out the right-hand side, because that will keep our leading term, our 6x squared, positive. 6x squared plus 15x minus 36 equals 0. Out of all of these terms, we can factor out 3, whereupon I get 2x squared plus 5x minus 12 equals 0. That factors. We've done plenty of factoring by this point, so I'll leave the factoring to you, but it factors into 3 times 2x minus 3 times x plus 4 equals 0. And again, we set each factor equal to 0. Now, there's no variable in the GCF because the GCF is very simply 3, but I'll show you why we ignore it anyway. The thing is that we set each factor equal to 0. X plus 4 equals 0, or 2x minus 3 equals 0, or 3 equals 0. The problem is, though, that it's mathematically impossible for 3 to equal 0. That's what we call a contradiction, and that's why we can ignore that. So instead, we'll just focus on the things we can solve. If 2x minus 3 equals 0, I can add 3 to both sides. I get 2x equals 3. I'll divide by 2. And I get x equals 3 halves. As for x plus 4 equals 0, I'll simply subtract 4 from both sides, and I get that x equals negative 4. So once again, we have 2 possible answers here. And again, we ignore the outside because it doesn't have a variable. So just remember that if the GCF does have a variable in it, you want to set it equal to 0. If it doesn't, you can just ignore it.